Hi everyone, thanks for checking out another video. Today we're going to talk about SQL injection attacks. And SQL stands for Structured or Standard Query Language. And this query language has to do with databases. You might know, you might not know that every website has usually a database, and the database will contain username, passwords, maybe images, maybe the whole catalog. If you have a web shop, all kind of products, they are all saved in the database. And the website, you have a web server and a database server. The web server serves you the web pages, and based on the query, so the question you ask the website, it queries, it asks the database, it mixes it together with a web page and the data from the database and presents you the website. In a nutshell, that's how a website works. So you question the database. You do that with SQL language. So I just told you that almost every website that you need to log into contains a username and a password. Here is a very nice example. So select from users. So this is a table, a user table. All the users that have an account on that website will probably be stored in the user table. So from this table you have a row called username. And here we have some SQL language as well, and PWD stands for passwords. If you get database connection, you can fire this query basically at the database. So you can either download it, you can change it, or you can drop it. And what is the danger of dropping a database table is that you delete all usernames and passwords from the database. So that means that your customer cannot log in anymore, which is a disruption of the service, basically. But let me go back here to this overview. So it starts here with the hacker, and the hacker identifies that there's a vulnerability, or there's a vulnerability in the SQL database. You have here two fields on the website: username and username and password. And when you submit data, you submit it to the database, and the database will say, okay, I know this user and he's allowed to log in, for instance. Rules and access rights and all those kind of stuff are stored in the database. And then you get data back to say confirmed. I know this user, he's allowed to log in, and you be presented the next web page. This username and password are two database fields. So you could fill in an email address or a password, for instance, but you could also fill in this SQL language because you're talking to the database already. And with this SQL injection attack, you can basically let the database do certain things that it's not allowed to do, if that makes any sense. You can fill in you can fill in the email address, you can fill in the password. Then the website will do exactly what it's supposed to do, and that's authenticate you as a user and give you access. But the website will talk to the database in SQL language. So you can also directly talk to the database in SQL language and tell it to do certain things that it's not allowed to do, like drop the username table, for instance, or the password table. Or maybe they're connected. When you drop the table, that means all the users and all the passwords are deleted from the database. So this is the first thing that is very important to understand what an SQL attack entails. The second thing, malicious SQL query is validated and command is executed by the database. That's just what we talked about. So you can fill in here, instead of the username, you can fill in here the query language. Then your request will be sent to the database, and the database will just react based on the query, what it is that you want to do. You can say, how can I do that? You have no rights to do that as an outsider. You're not be granted access rights to the database, but you just authenticate it yourself, or you just know what kind of database it is, and you have a general idea of the setup. How can you find that out as well? If you connect to the database, you can check the database version. So in Oracle, which is also a database, of course, you can see what kind of version of or instance of the Oracle database you're running. Same thing for Microsoft, PostgreSQL and MySQL, to check what kind of version is running there. So that can give you more insights on vulnerabilities that you can exploit. So these are all select for all from all tables, or select all from a certain table, and then you get presented an overview of what's in that table. You basically ask the database, okay, give me an overview of all usernames. But you can also tell the database, okay, I want you to delete all usernames. So we go back here. Then the hacker is granted access to view and alter records, potentially acted as a database administrator. He can also check, depending on the database, if it's Oracle, MySQL, to see who's the DBA, the database administrator. And maybe he can even download the database and then do try to crack the password of the database offline. So first you copy the database and then you have it locally, and then you try to crack the password. With that, you can get granted full admin rights, and then you can basically do anything with the database that you want. In the most ideal setup, the database is encrypted, of course, data at rest encryption, and also the credentials for any administrator to the database should be sufficient enough that cracking the password will take quite a lot of time. So this is in a nutshell what an SQL attack entails. Just like with every website that you can log in, the username and password fields are actually directly connected to the database. You fill it in, it's sent to the database, the database will validate this query, and then it will send the information back to the user, or in this case, the attacker. And these attacks are around for more than 20 years already. They still exist. They're still among one of the most used attacks when it comes to websites, web applications. It's fairly simple to protect yourself against SQL injection attacks. We have many cheat sheets online. It's interesting, especially when you run your own website. But for me, if you do know exactly how to protect yourself from these kind of attacks, and they will happen, it has to do with website security, it has to do with database security. You can upgrade them, of course, but if you don't know what to do when the database is dropped or data is adjusted, edited, added, for instance, to corrupt the database, it's best to put back a copy of, let's say, a day ago, and keep on going from there if you don't know how to restore it. That's always my golden rule. In case of something going wrong, backups are the answer. But when you own a website, it's good to keep an eye on the top 10 OWASP attacks that's happening at website. And OWASP is standing for Open Web Application Security Project. It's been around also for 20 years or so, and they have much more in-depth information on SQL injection attacks. For the sake of this tutorial is just to explain you the concept of what an SQL attack is. So if you have more questions and you want to see maybe a video that goes more into depth, please let me know. Then I'll cook up something new for you. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you in the next one.